Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 16, 16 minutes of mindfulness meditation. So I'd like for you today to take any seat you'd like to take here. We're not going to focus so much on the work that we've been doing or how the body feels right now in the moment, because between yesterday and today, as I mentioned, we're at that point of the process where we're hitting this thing known as the wall. We're 75% of the way through to making a habit. And we know it takes about 21 days to make or break a habit. In the work that we've been doing here together, just as a reminder, the intention I set out when I announced that I was going to offer up this work was that I was committed to doing it. I was going to show up for 31 days to do this. I was going to be consistent, which is why it keeps happening at the same time of the day, which in hindsight really works if you want to join me live, but really does not allow for me to sleep in at all, and which is fine. It creates other really good habits. And the third thing is that it was to build community. So why am I bringing this all together? So I mentioned yesterday that there's this thing called the wall, this invisible phenomenon that happens about 75% through a process, and it really calls into question our resolve to continue on. It's another attempt to get us to stop. When I was thinking through how our 16 minutes here today was going to go, got to be honest, last week, so whether you're reviewing this on recordings or if you're live, today is Friday for me. And my Thursdays are mentally taxing. They are marathon days of Zoom that start from sunup to sundown with a whole array of how I interact in the virtual space. It dawned on me today, as I felt my energy depleted just as I did a week ago, that this is also part of the mindfulness process. Becoming aware that we have cycles, even if we aren't fully aware of them at this moment, and that we may go back, way back in time, to compare current moments or current events, and then use those two counterpoints to sort of judge ourselves and to convince our minds that, I can keep going. This is impossible. I'm not doing that much work. Remember back when I used to XYZ? Walls aren't just barriers that keep things out. Walls are also phenomenal assistance to the rest process. So where we may feel like the only way to continue on in this mindfulness process is to find our seat, to find our breath, to sit in stillness, to sit in silence, sometimes we need a break. And so just as I started and I reminded you all of sort of my intentions when I showed up, commitment, consistency, and community, why did you start this journey? Do you remember? So we'll go back 17 days before we even started our 1-minute meditation on July 1st. Why, at that point, can you remember what were the driving factors or thoughts you had about why you may want to embark on this journey? compare and contrast that with where are you now in the process? Have you found it to meet, not meet, or even exceed your initial expectations? Did your expectations change? Oftentimes, I find personally that a lot of my dismay with where I am in a process comes from along the lines I was changing milestones unconsciously. I'm going to do mindfulness meditation. I'm going to show up and I'm going to find my comfortable seat. I'm going to sit for 3 minutes because sometimes that's hard for me to do. Well, at minute 15 yesterday, sitting for 15 minutes, it didn't even register. I was like, oh, I can completely do this. But where was my celebration of the 5 minutes? How did I blow past it entirely and then just start rejudging myself from this current moment? So walls are not just the things that say stop, or I feel like I stop and oh, maybe I should back off. But as part of our mindfulness practice, that wall is a phenomenal place, similar to our breath, where if we haven't been building in a pause, the process is going to do it for us. It's going to say, I think you need a break here. Doesn't mean you have to stop, doesn't mean that you won't proceed forward. We're definitely not going to stay in this moment forever. So how do you use these moments, it is so challenging, there's no way I can go on. Have you ever stopped and thought, if that phrase comes to mind, that maybe it's not an invitation to scrap everything, but more so an invitation to say, maybe I just need a break from this. It doesn't mean that we're going to throw away all the work to date. It does not mean that we now need to add an extra day to get to our new habit because it's 21 days. Actually, what it's doing is it's building into our routine, our habit, a pause, a rest, an opportunity to just consciously find this stillness that we've been trying to cultivate internally, but to bring it into our everyday living to say, you know what, I've done a lot to this point. I should reflect on that. I should celebrate that. And that's a big shout out to my accountability group, who every week requires that we think of a way to celebrate our hard work. And then once we've given our bodies, our minds, this time to not get so tied up in the hows or the wheres or the whens, and to really celebrate showing up. Celebrate that even if you thought at the end, or 75% through building a habit, or 50% of the way through our time together, that you were going to be somewhere else, why not observe where you really are? And from this point, not pushing through or banging your head, figuratively or literally, against a wall, I need to sit back, relax. Take a couple of really just nice breaths that let you take your vision and explore around where you are and maybe just notice, wow, I've been showing up, if like me, same space, same time, and I've done that without pause, without missing a beat for now 16 days. It's amazing. Had you had told me that I'd wake up this early and be prepared to talk to people about mindfulness every day, I would have thought you were crazy. But no, I'm here. I'm just tired today. Okay, that's okay. Now I know. I can expect or anticipate come next Friday, I'm probably going to meet you all with the same level of energy because my Thursdays are hard. So as you're sitting here and you're wondering if this is really how your 16 minutes of today is going to go, the answer is yes. This is how it's going to go. And instead of feeling like you need to rush off because, well, if this is all we're going to do, I might as well go do something else. Why not say no to that? Why not just sit where you are? And if you're a little bit uncomfortable with the ambiguity of there really not being any expectation or end result of this 16 minutes, why don't you bring your awareness to that? I'm sure this is not the first time or situation where you've had those thoughts or feelings. So just use it as a way to check in and be like, well, what would I normally do? What would my reaction usually be in this situation? Do I need to fill every moment of my day? And if the answer is yes, why? This is linking together now, or bringing to the forefront the power of the mind, the power of all the conditioning of the habits that we have to this point, that somewhere throughout our being, our existence, we've just reinforced and repeated. So if sitting still is really hard on your body, check yourself this moment. If sitting here for 16 minutes, just casually having a conversation about how funny the mind is and how we actually do need rest, that's how we're built and programmed, then of course when you go to sit in stillness, it's going to be challenging. It's challenging to do it or to be in the present moment when I'm not even asking you to do anything else other than just not to jam pack this 16 minutes with anything other than what you committed to doing. Your intention for why you showed up on day one. Is it still relevant 16 days later? Do you need to interject some knowing, some awareness that you've gathered each day and build it into new expectations of how you'd like to see the next 15 days go? It's a great way to remind ourselves of, again, whether or not it's awareness and meditation or anything else in our lives. Just because we set a strategy on day one doesn't hold us to every particular nuanced detail. Actually, conversations like today, where we say the mind is fickle and we may pull from the past previous ways we used to handle challenges and we're going to force our way through walls. It's really hard to say, maybe that strategy doesn't work. It didn't work then, and it's definitely not working now. So how can we take in all of this living, all of this experience, and mindfully incorporate it into going forward? This is, as much as anything else, a mindfulness practice today. because we finally stopped holding on to how we thought it was supposed to go. And we just gave ourselves this pin, this moment, this pause to accept how it really is and to go from there. And with that, we are done. That is 16 minutes of you sitting there, giving yourself this gift of the present moment, the honesty of how you're feeling, where you are, and what you'd like to see for the remainder of the journey. We'll come back tomorrow for 17 minutes on day 17 of our mindfulness meditation journey, where we will get back into a little bit more of that traditional sit, breath, mind work. So think of today as your gift. Let it be one full of celebration and a little bit of ease towards not everything has to go exactly as planned, and maybe that's okay. All right, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.